everybody. Buckle up, because this is going to be really personal. I wanted to really quickly, before we get started on this video today, I wanted to update everybody that the snake is still doing very well. He's fine. And we got one more permanent resident to our rescue. It is another bearded dragon, so we have 5 now. And this one has a neurological disease where it's kind of like the spider wobble in a ball python, where his head twists and turns. He has no real good depth perception, and he leans up, kind of looks at the stars. It's just sad, but he can still live a good quality life. He's not in pain, and as long as I hand feed him and give him lots of attention and love, he's good. So that's exciting. And I had a video requested to me. Well, it was a comment actually that asked a question, and I felt like I should make a whole video on it because I love your guys' feedback, and I want to actually make videos that are meaningful and that you guys want to see. So the question I got was, one was the BDSM video I made long ago. Was that something that was my idea, or was it something I was coerced to do? And since being in an abusive relationship and sexually assaulted, have my BDSM views changed? So yes, this is personal. So I want to preface that in this abusive relationship that I was in for 30 plus months, he was a submissive himself. Never in any aspect, in any form, in any way did he in a pleasurable way did he dominate me. He was never my dominant. He never tried anything where he was the one sexually in control. He never played games that way. He never looked at me as his submissive. I was never his submissive. He never even joked around, played with that kind of stuff. It never ever happened. It was not our dynamic at all. I'm sorry for the lighting. It's just natural lighting. But I wanted to get this video out right away because it's on my mind and I want to just talk through it. Well, it's fresh in my mind. But anyways, so I never even thought about him as a dominant because I have not had a ton of dominance in my life by any means. It has been a select few people, I'd say 3 that I considered my actual BDSM dominant, in that they were a guiding, teaching, amazing role, and they kept me in a safe space. I've played around with some very consensual, safe, non-harmful, non-damaging BDSM games with other people while we were learning and exploring each other, but never with someone being like my dom, me being their sub. Just those 3 accounts. So anyways, this person himself he's an extreme masochist, my abusive ex, and he is also very much so into men as well as women and transsexuals. He likes being the bottom in the female role. He likes being submissive sexually in all areas. He doesn't like being in control with that, which is, I find a lot of times submissives are in their, I work running the animal business and training horses and doing things, life coaching, I'm very in control and I have a really good grasp on things, and that's a lot of times the kind of people that are submissives because it's your safe space and your way to let go. My ex was extremely abusive, extremely controlling and manipulative, and he used sex as his way to kind of relax. And I know he has sexually assaulted somebody before me, and I know that he did rape me. But other than that instance, which I wouldn't say it's a sexual thing almost. Yes, it was a sexual act, but it was out of anger and control and manipulation and spite. It's not just a sexual thing. Being sexually assaulted is an awful, violent offense. It's just a heinous thing to do to somebody. So I think that it was from an ugly place. And let me be perfectly clear, BDSM isn't ugly. It's not mean. It's not manipulative or controlling. It's all about your safe space and consenting. And as much as a submissive, which is the role I'm in with men, as much as a submissive does take on that kind of learning role, they're kind of being guided by somebody, they're putting their life in that person's hands, totally trusting that person. their life, you're also bonding in a way that's so loving and so safe and so beautiful that it's hard to explain. And unless you have total trust and know that person would never harm you or hurt you or do anything to mislead you, misguide you in any aspect, you cannot truly submit to them, in my opinion. You can't truly be in that headspace. Sure, you can be into sadomasochism and temporary pain responses because they can be pleasurable, and that can be a game. But to be a true submissive with a true dominant, I think it takes total trust. I know it takes total trust and dedication and loyalty and love, and it's a very beautiful thing. Also, in BDSM, there is some pain in the masochistic end of it. Sometimes there's none. Sometimes it's just being tied or being held in a firm way. It's not always a pain response. But when it is a pain response, it's kind of like using a TENS unit, which I use for my physical therapy a lot. It's that slight tinge of a feeling. It's a temporary, prick, like a shot. But it doesn't cause any damage. It's not harmful, and it in no way, shape, or form ever is actually injuring somebody. It's not changing their life. It's not hurting them. There's never a concussion, or if done right, there's never a concussion or an injury or being bludgeoned. It's literally a slap for that stinging sensation, and not a forceful, mean slap. It's a touch, a prick, whatever it is, a pinwheel just rolling over the skin for a brief sensation that within a few minutes after you're done, there's not even a red mark from just the pressure. It's not a big deal. It's most certainly never broken bones, never sprained ankles. It's never anything lasting, anything harmful like that. And because very quickly when I met my ex, I basically felt like he suckered me into feeling guilty, because he was saying how he was always the masochist and who let these men top him and be very violent towards him in a sadomasochism way. And he knows that with me personally, I'm the submissive when I'm with a man, but when I'm with a woman, I'm the dominant. And he said because he is not a straight male, that basically it wasn't fair of me to not be willing to look at him as the female role, which, because he was so abusive and so manipulative, it was hard for me to look at him and see him in a cutesy female way. Plus, I don't look at men that way, or I can, apparently, but it's just not my first choice. So he kind of guilted me into seeing him as this female feminine role, and I was the man in it. So I would do things like top him and be dominant towards him. Never anything like crazy, extreme, painful, no, because I was afraid of him. But I would do things that were penetrating him with an object or doing things to please him, stimulate him. And it was very much so about him, not me. And because he was very unstable, very rocky, he was used to being with men and being submissive and the female role with men, and he wanted me to see him that way. And even if when it was him basically having sex with me, which stopped the moment he sexually assaulted me, we never consensually did anything again, ever. But before that, when we were first dating and stuff along those lines, it was in a very I did all of the work way. Like, I would do everything to him and for him, and then I would do the work even when it was him being the guy, essentially. I did all of the work, and he would lay back and just enjoy it, basically. And then he would be the female role at other times. So I never even considered him in BDSM to be anything remotely, even minusculely like dominant or, I don't know, forward towards me. I just never even considered trying stuff or even playing a game once. Nothing. Like, we did nothing that way. He was very, very much so a masochist himself, and he was very much so more into men than women, which was, he might not verbally say it, but it was obvious. And he wanted to be that role, wanted to be seen as pretty and he wanted that reciprocated. So I never, even if he was, let's say he flipped the roles and said, oh, I want to try something where I'm more in control, I would have said no. And he never did offer that, and I never asked that, because I don't trust him. And you have to trust your dominant as much as you trust yourself, if not more. So the way it has changed me, because it has, is that I am way more cautious now than I ever have been, even though I was always very safe and cautious in the first place, because I just am, and you just have to be very consensual, safe, realistic, understanding and kind with your goals, but I since being sexually assaulted, I was terrified, and I went months without doing anything, not being kissed, not holding someone's hand, nothing, because I was terrified. I actually went to one of my former dominants and talked with him, and it's in my for the first time after being raped video, where I talked about how I kind of even thought about doing something physical again. And because he was somebody who had done BDSM things with me as when he was the dominant role with me, he knew me, and he also understood and respected me as a human being, whereas Max didn't at all, in any way, shape, or form, respect me or show any kindness or compassion to me ever. He was just a very mean person. And yeah, it was wonderful to have him. You know, it was like a firm hair grab or just a secure hold, but nothing was painful, nothing was dangerous or harmful, nothing injured me. And it took, like I said, months to even consider doing anything sexual at all. And it was very slow, and I'll briefly touch on it here, but that other video went in depth. It was like a kiss here and there after like a couple hours of watching, movies together, TV shows together, talking about music and life and art and everything, jewelry making, and just, you name it. We really dove into each other's minds because we understand each other and we care about each other as people and have respect for each other. And I was calling him Jay in the other video, so we'll call him Jay now. So the first time I did anything, period, sexually, including holding somebody's hand, was with this Jay. And it was very slow, and it was not this forceful, crazy thing that people like media portrays BDSM as, because BDSM is portrayed in the very sadomasochistic way, where it's a dungeon and these people are whipping you and it's crazy. That's sadomasochism. It's not somebody being a dominant and a submissive per se. Yes, that can be involved, but it's not permanent pain. It's not injury. It's little sensations that are rewarding and pleasing. And I was not ready, and I'm still not ready to participate in anything extreme with it. So he was my dominant, and I was his submissive the first time having sex. Again, we were in those roles, but it was in a guiding, nurturing. He understood I was hurt recently, and he took me under his wing and was loving and nurturing and wonderful about it. And that meant everything in the whole wide world to me. As a whole, it just meant everything. And it was really beautiful and really meaningful and just sweet. And I think it's one of those things that you cannot be a dominant and not be loving and tender and kind, because they care enough about you to put their lives aside to take all of your problems, and in that moment have all of your life and all of your problems their problems, so you can be in a headspace to be free for that moment. They take on your worldly burdens to give you a moment of pure peace. It's really a beautiful situation, and I will always be a submissive. Even if I end up with a female, let's say I marry a female, then I would never be submissive to her in a sexual way because I'm a dominant with women. But in my heart, I will always appreciate and love being a submissive towards men, and I'll always have that as a part of my heart and a part of me forever, because it's so much more than just sex. It's so much more than just a role play thing. It's a beautiful headspace and lifestyle that I'll always know is a part of me. But that all aside, I'm afraid to do things because I'm still in physical therapy. I'm still hurting. I still am healing from the multiple concussions and from the destroyed broken nose and the fractured skull, the teeth that fell out, my back molars. I mean, there's so many things. The shoulder, I have a tear in my shoulder muscle from him. It's thing after thing after thing. Back damage, spine damage, neck damage, head trauma. There's so many things that I'm still healing from, that to do something, more intricate, like some Japanese BDSM rope tying things, I would not be ready for, because I wouldn't be comfortable consenting to that, because I think it would hurt in a way that is very uncomfortable and not what BDSM is about. So it's held me back in that way, and I've also not been sexually myself at all. I haven't jumped back into the game and been there and been ready. I've been very slow and baby stepping, and I think that the person who Jay, I feel like he could be a big help, even in my mentality, to get back to what I want to be and where I can actually get a lot from the headspace. But that's going to take time. And because I was cut down there and everything, I had injuries healing and have injuries that are still sore or different, and I can still just, maybe it is healed, but it's still painful in my mind. So I have to move very slow. So I guess the things that have changed are be more cautious, even though I was very cautious. Don't think of it as a kink. It's not some big, mysterious, terrible thing where you're getting hurt and you're going to have, sometimes people leave hickeys or marks, like bruises in that way, which if it's your thing, that's fine. But it's never going to be someone hit you so hard in the face that you literally have a black eye or bruises. Like, every time my ex physically touched me, it was in a negative way. And it's to the point where even if I get acupuncture now, my body reacts as if it's painful, because I'm so afraid of touch now because of how bad he hurt me, especially when he sexually assaulted me. So that has nothing to do with BDSM. It's because somebody sexually assaulted me and brutalized me, and I'm terrified as a person as a whole. It is nothing against the BDSM lifestyle. I still hold it near and dear to my heart. I love being with women where I can get that control and guide somebody in a very meaningful, loving manner, where I can help them see that beautiful headspace that I'm in when I'm with a man that I love so dearly and so truly and so beautifully. It's amazing to give that to somebody and to show somebody how to achieve that and please them. And even as I did with my ex, or and with during stuff with my ex, he would bring in some other men as bottoms and have me do stuff with them. So I've been with gay males who were my submissive, because that was something my ex was very into, bringing other men in that way, because he wanted to be their bottom and wanted them to be a bottom for me. Well, he basically was part of it. So I don't mind with a gay male or a male who's a bottom or a female. I've opened up my eyes to that and let them be the submissive role to me. But my preferred role will always, always, always be being a submissive to a dominant man that I trust. And it would take a lot to trust a man again. Out of the 3 people I was submissive to, if they all jump back in my life, there is only that one Jay who I would actually submit to and trust to be slow moving and careful and guiding and loving with me right now. So I wouldn't just jump back into it. And it would probably take a good year of being with somebody, learning them and knowing they're not going to hit me or hurt me or damage me as a person before I would consider getting, a new dominant and really opening up and finding that headspace with somebody I love again. It would take a lot of time and effort and patience with somebody new, because it wouldn't be something I did right away by any means at all. But like I said, there's still that one person I trust. And again, it was very mild, but he was still my dominant, because he was still taking my life in his hands in a loving way and making sure that I felt safe and beautiful and secure and loved. And that was everything to me. It meant the world to me. And seriously, it's beautiful. So there's nothing against the lifestyle. There are people who abuse it. There are people who go on these fetish websites and they I don't know the word I'm looking for. They just glorify it in a way it's not. and they make it seem to be this thing that it isn't, and I hate that because it's not true. It's not what it really is. It's not what it stands for. It's not what it means. It just upsets me. But again, I never, ever, ever, ever saw my ex as anyone who would ever be anything but, I would never have let him guide me in anything because I didn't respect somebody who was able to beat me every week and who was able to threaten my life and my family's lives and my children's lives, and to be so abusive that I needed to get a safety plan to have him removed without him killing me. And he tried and almost succeeded in killing me. I mean, that's not somebody I would ever submit to in any aspect of life. I could never even do it in a role play situation or a sadomasochism situation. I could never, because his pain wasn't a brief sensation that's enlightening. It's a forced, injuring, harmful, heinous act every time that he would drink or just have a mental breakdown in anger at his adopted mom or somebody and take it out on me. It was bones broken, hospital visits, stitches. It was brutal, and horrible, and something I don't wish on my worst enemy. I don't even wish it on him, because it is such an awful experience to be with somebody like that, and so mind-numbing and twisting and wrong. And it makes you just doubt everything about yourself and your self-worth and who you are as a person, and it's not fair. So it has nothing to do with BDSM. Like I said, the second I told him, hey, this is what I'm into, which was right away the first day we met, he came right back with, that's what I am too. I could never be the dominant with anybody, actually. And I was like, oh, well, I can be with, at the time I said with just women. And that's when he immediately wanted to be that role. He immediately wanted to be the feminine role with me. And he never gave me any release or any pleasure physically. He was just abusive and manipulating. So it was, none of what I went through had anything to do at all with me being a submissive. And if anything, it was the exact opposite. It's because I tried to love somebody and share that world with them and let them be my submissive in a way I hadn't at the time really experienced before, with the male being the female role to me. And it was just very different. So they were so non-related and so separate. I felt I needed to sit down and really state that. I'm sure there are people out there on FetLife and on websites that you could sit there and immediately know that they're just using it as a way to have rough sex or be domineering, and it's not in a BDSM consensual way. But that's not what a true dominant and submissive are doing, and that has nothing to do with the actual lifestyle. So I wanted to do a video response. I responded in a message or a comment back, but I wanted to actually jump on here and really talk to you guys honestly, because I feel that's important. I love you guys. I'm going to try to film another video today too, and I'm going to finish the light series about my hair and an animal update and another mental health video, and just I want to be real with you guys. And I always want to make things and videos you want to see, because I want to have a safe spot where we can talk about literally anything, and we know we're not going to be judged here. This is just a place to be honest with your emotions, with your feelings, with your sexuality, and with yourself. This is the place to be you and be free and be happy. And we can talk about the darkest topic in the world, the scariest topics in the world. We can talk about the most happy, beautiful thing you could ever imagine and ever even think of. And that's fine, because we can talk about anything here. And there'll be fun hair updates and animal videos and great stuff that I love, and artistic stuff, stuff about tattoos, whatever. It doesn't matter. But we can also dive into the really personal topics, because someone needs to talk about it. It needs to not be shamed. It needs to not be just thrown in the shadows and not talked about. It needs to be a part of life that we can all really address and feel safe and secure and not judged in. So I'm going to continue to listen to you guys and make videos that I think need to be talked about. I love you all. Thank you again so much for the support. Thank you so much for being here. It really means a lot more to me than I could say.